Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today we're going to go through another PortSwigger Academy lab on SQL injection. This one's titled SQL Injection Attack, Listing the Database Contents on Oracle. So the lab contains a SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter. The results from the query are returned in the application's responses, so you can use a union attack to retrieve the data from other tables. The application has a login function, and the database contains a table that holds username and passwords. You need to determine the name of the table and the columns it contains. Then retrieve the contents of the table to obtain the username and password of all users. And then to solve the lab, we need to log in as the administrator. So feel free to log in to your PortSwigger Academy lab. Click the Access the Lab button, and let's get started. All right, so I have the lab pulled up, and I've gone ahead and selected the GIFs category. It doesn't matter which one you select. The description does state that the category parameter is vulnerable to SQL injection. So I'm just going to go ahead, grab this request, send this to repeater, hit send, and everything looks like it's going just fine. So if I add a special character in here, so a single quote, we get a 500 indicating something on the back end broke. And then if we add in a second single quote, we get a 200. And if we render this out, we see there's no data in here. And if we strip those two single quotes away, we now see that we have some data. So let's go ahead and start building out our union-based SQL injection payload. So we can do something like, instead of doing the union select, we can do the order by, let's do 2. They've historically, the past few labs have been 2 columns. Control U to URL encode. So we're going to try to determine the number of columns in the table. And like I said, historically they've been 2. So if we do order by 2 and everything works, then we can determine how many columns are in there. So if we do 3 and we get a 500, so this is broken, we know that we are only going to be dealing with 2 columns of data in our current table. So now what I want to do, instead of saying order by, is I'm going to go ahead and remove this and do union select null, comma, null, tac space tac. And we've done this before where we're going to say the number of columns are going to be represented by these 2 null values. But what's going to happen is once I URL encode this, so highlight this, Control U, and send, this is going to break. This is going to give us a 500. And if you can remember from the obtaining the version of Oracle, we have to now say from dual. So we're going to say the plus sign for the URL encode for the spacing from dual. So now when we send this, we get a 200. So everything's going just fine. We have this kind of foundation, but now instead of saying null from dual, let's actually try to get the version of Oracle. And the way that we'll go about getting the version of Oracle is saying banner from $version. And then if we send this 200, so no issues. And if we scroll down, here's the version of Oracle. Now our next step is we want to obtain the tables so that we can do the select username and password from the table name, but we don't know that table, so we need to figure that out. And I have some documentation pulled up from Oracle, so docs.oracle.com, and what we're going to say is we want to select from all tables and obtain the table name. So in here we'll say, instead of banner, we'll say table name, and then from all tables. And now we'll send this 200, and if we scroll down, we see all of these tables. I'm going to go ahead and do a search for users. We do not want the app users and roles. We want something like this. So this is going to be users underscore and then some random string. They're always going to be random characters after the end of this table name, so users underscore some random string. It's just so that people can't effectively try to cheat on this. So yours is going to look different. Don't stress, just keep following along and everything will be good. I'm going to go ahead and rename this to tables and then right click, send this to repeater. That way I have a bit of a reference here. And if I mess something up, I can defer back to this. But now I know the name of the tables, so I'm going to go ahead, copy this. Now we want to get the column names. And then that's going to look like, instead of saying table name, we're going to say column name. And instead of from all tables, we're going to say user underscore tab underscore columns, and then where table name equals, and then in single quotes, I'm going to paste that value. Let me go ahead and URL decode this. Control Shift and U to decode this. So union select null, the column name from user tab columns, where table name equals, and then we want to make sure that we have these in quotes. So let's encode this again. Control U, send this, and 200, so no syntax errors. And now we have the password and then the username. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this again to columns. Again, just so I have a backup. Right click, send this to repeater. And now I can finish off the lab by saying, let's grab the username, and we'll actually drop in that username into that first null. Grab this password column and put that over column name, and then we know that this is where that data lies. This is the table. So from, and then we can actually just get rid of the where clause in here. So from, and I'll paste that in here, so it should look like this. Let me go ahead, Control Shift U again to decode it. So select union select the username, which we got here, right there, password, which came from right here, and then from the table, which we got again from right here. So now if I send this, we get a 200. Let's scroll down, and now we have the administrator credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the password here, go to my account, paste in the password, and we have solved the lab. So wonderful. Pretty straightforward. If you didn't understand a certain component, feel free to run through the video a few more times, go through the lab and experiment and play around with it. If you're running into any issues or you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will get to you as soon as possible to help troubleshoot any issues that you're potentially having. Hope you found this video to be informative and that you found some value in it. Have a wonderful day, happy hacking, and take care.